I'm sorry I caused all this. I'm not scared of going outside anymore. But I'm terrified of gorillas now.
So, I wasn't the only person in this episode traumatized. Hi, I'm Kitty Monk, and I'm here to talk to you about Spongebob. Or more specifically, the episode, I Had an Accident. Surface-wise, it might not look like much, but I promise you, it is one of the scariest episodes of not just the first 5 seasons, but the show as a whole. In my videos, I frequently make the point that Spongebob is my favorite cartoon of all time. It's why I like to inject Spongebob clips into my reviews.
How could you trade Spongebob for 62 cents?
You think I could have gotten more?
Even if I believe the first 5 seasons have their own problems, especially the 4th and 5th, I do still find merit in them. Despite how famous SpongeBob is, I'd say it rivals the Owl House and Gravity Falls in how much random horror they can fit into a single episode. Sometimes it's just one moment in particular, like with Nosferatu, both during the show's golden age,
Nosferatu!
and in the modern era. Yeah, he freaks me out at 22 more than when I was 8. Other times, the entire episode is bone-chilling. And surprisingly, this doesn't go for their Halloween specials, which besides I Was a Teenage Gary or Ghoulfuls are pretty tame. For a while, Wormy was the scariest episode. When I was a kid, I thought nothing of it. I mean, that's how butterflies look, right? And no, I'm not showing Wormy. Google it. As an adult, afraid of insects to the point where I can't watch Ant-Man, I can say with certainty that's not a butterfly. It's a horsefly. I think I had a nightmare and he was in it. The ironic thing is, if you got rid of the close-up, this episode would be in my top 3, because the townsfolk thinking a butterfly amounts to a deranged monster is hilarious. At first, I was gonna cover that episode, maybe to help overcome my phobia. It's always next year. Instead, I'm gonna cover one episode that did freak me out as a kid. I mean, there are a few, like Funny Pants, or Spongehenge, or that hot sauce guy.
I command this particular drop of hot sauce to be really hot.
I actually ran out of the room when I first saw him, but those are just moments. This is the first SpongeBob episode I remember being scared of. Just the atmosphere, the characters, it all felt way off. The first time I watched it, I was like 4 or 5, and I remember after that episode ended, I turned off my living room TV and made sure the 2 lamps we had were on. And I think I might have had a nightmare about the gorilla a couple years later, but enough reminiscing. Let's get into it. A theme I noticed when most scary episodes, not just for SpongeBob, but almost all cartoons, especially this month, is they never feel scary at first. They gradually like to ease you into it, you know? Innuendo not intended. That's especially true here. We begin at Sand Mountain, where Patrick is, well, being Patrick. Notice how he has a bucket on his head instead of a normal helmet. Pathetic, but this isn't anything new. I mean, there was that one time a few seasons later when Patrick lost his brain, and it wasn't all that scary, now was it?
No, I got dead again. This game stinks.
SpongeBob, ever the sports fan, decides to give it a go.
Stop naming moves after me.
Everybody's an idiot except for me.
Well, it's true.
I show you this clip because, well, Squidward only has like 3 lines. He's a darkly relatable treat. Like Patrick, SpongeBob doesn't pay any attention to where he's going, and he ends up... Wow, that looks like it hurts.
Like this?
No, your other bottom.
Don't you have to be stupid somewhere else?
Not until 4.
Wait, so did Patrick know what he was doing? Did he purposely get SpongeBob hurt because he said,
Don't eat the yellow sand.
if it's true, wow, he's spiteful. Also, wait, SpongeBob is he's a sponge. How did he have such an impact?
The blood plot.
Oh yeah, right. SpongeBob ends up at the hospital, where Dr. Gill tells him the surgery went well.
Took 20 hours to put it all back together. We actually ran out of staples and had to use a glue stick.
Okay, that seems like it would hurt more than the impact itself. What if he sits the wrong way or has to use the toilet? Does his butt get undone? Does he have to put a plastic bag around his butt whenever he takes a shower? No wonder he became a hermit. That is so nerve-wracking. Dr. Gill advises SpongeBob to be more careful. If he ends up breaking his bottom again, he'll end up
In the iron butt.
Oh, man. It itches.
Do I need to say it?
On the way home, SpongeBob can't help but see possible backside breakers. It also acts as a chance for the writers to insert some of their, well, let's watch.
Nice catch, Percy.
We finally got enough people for a 7-mile spanking machine.
Is this where the line starts?
This leads SpongeBob to a ghastly conclusion.
My butt is not safe out here.
No part of me is safe.
I know the only reason they did it like this was because it's a cartoon. They have to go the extra mile. But as somebody in real life who has anxiety, I can see SpongeBob's reasoning. The situation he got into was pretty traumatic. Have you ever, I don't know, rode your bike and fell off, and instead of realizing it could have been for any number of reasons, like the wind or you just tripped or something like that, you blame the bike and stop doing it altogether, even if such a thing has never happened to you before? It's similar here. Only reason SpongeBob got into the accident was he wasn't paying attention. Besides, he took every precaution possible, like wearing a helmet. And not only did he get hurt, he got wrecked. When Dr. Gill told SpongeBob,
"From now on, I'd like you to be more careful,"
he likely meant don't do anything stupid. He didn't say SpongeBob had to abstain from doing anything. He just took the better to be safe than sorry approach a little too close to heart. I mean, if you break your arm, you're obviously going to be told, cancel your trip to Mount Everest. So even if SpongeBob overreacted, I do see the logic from a realistic standpoint. And this extends to other things. Sure, SpongeBob broke his butt, but as he ruminates, which is a terrible thing, he realizes,
And next time it won't just be my butt, it'll be my armpit or my forehead.
Or your other armpit.
for the first half of the episode, I love how realistically scary it is. Because, like I said above, we either know somebody or we are that somebody. We transition to Sandy and Patrick, safely gliding into SpongeBob's house. Phil Froggerbachi's laugh is infectious. Sometimes I wonder if he just laughed during recording and they inserted it into the episode. They find SpongeBob, who is deciding to...
Hello, friends. Enjoying the outside world?
Okay, SpongeBob himself would be right at home in 2020.
I won't be lonesome. I've got all the friends I need right here.
I still stand by what I said. I never thought this would be the cartoon to depict agoraphobia. Come on, think about it. Nobody calls it that, but it hits a lot of milestones. He had a traumatic incident. He's scared of leaving his house, out of fear something bad might happen.
I'm a sponge. What was I thinking? Walking. My people are sedentary.
Wait, what about his parents? Or his cousins? Or that drifter dude?
How are you gonna keep your job at the Krusty Krab?
A really long spatula.
Wait, how would they give him the orders? Carrier pigeon? And I don't want to repeat myself a third time because I know I do that in a lot of my videos, but it's like the writers had a crystal ball into 2020. Despite Sandy's protests, SpongeBob decides to confine himself indoors indefinitely. And because Squidward refuses to hang out with Patrick, he and Sandy decide to hatch a plan to get SpongeBob to come outside, via any method necessary.
Look at those fools, risking their lives jellyfishing.
I mean, if a really long spatula is all it takes for him to keep his job, couldn't he use a really long jellyfish net to keep up with his favorite hobby?
I think I caught one.
Now that's cute. Despite their attempts at fun, SpongeBob refuses to go outside. And would you? One of Patrick's ideas is washing an old person.
Patrick, that's not fun.
It is for me!
Finally, they come to their final idea. And this is where the episode gets freaky. If you are scared of live action versus animation, guys in suits, gorillas, Frank Welker, or the name George, I suggest you leave YouTube and come back when you find a trusted adult. Sandy pretends she's going to be attacked by a gorilla, and the only person who could save her is SpongeBob.
A gorilla! Save me, SpongeBob!
Wow, A+ acting. Emmy award-winning material right there. Mrs. Cheeks, you regularly fight with clams and save the town from Alaskan bullworms. Tell me, why did you think not to take care of the gorilla yourself? No wonder SpongeBob stays inside with the most smug face he's made all episode.
Okay, guys, really, this is your saddest attempt yet.
And from an episode where he spends it as smug as a 12-year-old playing Fortnite, that's saying something.
Hey, Sandy. Who's your friend?
Did anybody notice when whoever came on the scene, the music just stopped? That's how you know it's gonna get real.
If you're Patrick, then who's that? A real gorilla!
Huh?
Okay, there's a couple reasons why I find this episode so scary. But first, let's talk about my last SpongeBob review. SpongeBob's golden age came at a time when cartoons meeting live action was still a novel idea and was probably super expensive. This is mostly seen with Patchy, who you can tell a lot of the time is on a green screen or a soundstage. They have gotten better, but whenever they would mesh with live action, they would always dip their toes into the uncanny valley. I mean, most cartoons at the time did it. Courage the Cowardly Dog took advantage of it more than once. The gorilla is clearly just a man in a suit on a green screen, but that doesn't make him any less frightening, especially to a little kid. Then there's the gorilla sound effects. You probably heard them in plenty of other shows. I mean, Wormy was just stock footage from Bill Nye. But the way it's presented, on top of everything else, just sends another chill up your spine. The second thing you have to ask is,
what's a gorilla doing underwater in the first place?
that question never gets answered, and neither does why did he take Sandy and Patrick and then threw them around. At least with Wormy, we get the explanation he probably doesn't look like that. The townsfolk never saw a butterfly. Considering what he does later, he wasn't trying to help Spongebob. I have my own theory, but I'll give it a little bit down the line. Realizing he has to save his friends, SpongeBob takes the big leap and ventures outside.
From the safety of my home to the outside world.
Good for you, bro.
Oh, dear Neptune! Get off of me! Get off of me! Chip, help me! Help me!
Yes, for the fourth time, it's like they consulted with the Simpsons writers, and we were too naive to realize. Off topic, but it's probably the one and only episode I've ever related to SpongeBob himself. Yeah, I love the show, but outside of finding SpongeBob funny, I never really connected with him. Thanks, writers. But wait a second, Squidward is right there. That begets so many questions. Why isn't the gorilla attacking Squidward? I mean, he grabs SpongeBob like less than 5 seconds after he leaves the house. Does Squidward have a force field? Why didn't Patrick and Sandy ask for his help in getting SpongeBob out? Why isn't Squidward terrified there's a gorilla by his property? He's just watering the flowers like it's a normal Sunday. Regardless of these inconsistencies, SpongeBob is glad he's still alive, and very quickly conquers his phobia. Like, it's that easy.
Nothing can stop me now! Is it too late to go back inside yet? It's too late.
Okay, another reason I wanted to discuss this episode was the gorilla himself. Not just on a fear level, but on a logic level. I don't know if anybody has really noticed this yet, but the gorilla goes against the lesson. The whole point of the episode is that even if SpongeBob had his reasons, it was foolish of him to lock himself in the house forever. Only reason he did it was he was afraid he'd get hurt again. Worse for wear. So not only did SpongeBob go outside, but he gets maimed way more than he did at the beginning. Since he got split in half, and not in a good way, he likely broke his butt in the process. You know, the one organ he's trying to protect? Yeah, it's likely for a joke, but fundamentally, it's kind of hypocritical. I don't know why the gorilla was in the episode, but I have my theory. They wrote themselves into a corner. Alternatively, they didn't know how to get SpongeBob out of the house, so they just went with the most out there idea they could. If that's the case, it's sad because there's a lot more they could have done. Perhaps they could have included more characters. Like with the sponge who could fly, the issue is they limited the cast, or they chose the wrong characters to focus on. Maybe the really long spatula thing doesn't help, so Mr. Krabs has to go over to see what's up. I mean, he did it in Pickles. Maybe Squidward finds the filter feeding annoying. You know what's this episode done right? Nature Pants. Due to personal reasons, it's my least favorite of the show, and I'd say it's one of the worst pre-movie episodes. But the episode says even if SpongeBob is doing something foolish, it's negatively affecting his friends. Not only that, but when SpongeBob found out being a jellyfish sucked, he realized how poorly he was treating his friends, and he showed actual remorse and shame. More than this episode. I still think they could have done where something befalls his friends and he has to go outside, but it shouldn't have been the gorilla. Maybe Plankton steals the formula, I don't know. Ever curious, SpongeBob, or SpongeBob's, asked the all-important question of,
what's a gorilla doing underwater in the first place?
And if you need any more fear, look at the lip movements.
Well, it's funny you should, see the George, they're onto us!
Let's get out of here.
What were the writers on? It's the freakiest ending of any SpongeBob episode. Squidward and Clarinetland was freaky all the way, but the ending was still normal and things got resolved. This episode is the total reverse. The only thing that gets resolved is SpongeBob somehow doesn't fear outside, but he's split in half, he's got a new phobia against gorillas, and likely 15 years of full-time therapy ahead. Besides, I have so many questions. Why is there a donkey named George? Why is he underwater? Why are they riding into the sunset? Why is there some live-action family? I know SpongeBob isn't big on logic, and usually I ignore it if it's a brief joke, since you know it wasn't supposed to be taken seriously. But the gorilla is part of the plot. By doing so, they destroyed the entire episode. Thankfully, it's over. I guess in hindsight, it's not the scariest episode. If I did have to rank it in a top 10 list, it'd probably be in the bottom. Maybe like a 7. Like St. Olga's, it felt like after this episode, they just unleashed the floodgates. Maybe when they were making the movie, they drank a ton of absinthe and lead paint, because things just changed. It's like they no longer cared about giving kids nightmares. Think about how many scarier out there moments we got.
A clarinet is not owned.
So yeah, in comparison, maybe I had an accident isn't that scary, but one time, 20 years ago, it traumatized a whole generation of watchers. And unfortunately, I was one of them.